She was young, radiant, and believed she had found the love of her life. He was charming, older, successful, the kind of man who seemed to have it all. To everyone else, they looked like the perfect couple, the kind of love story people dream of. But behind those smiling photos and perfect captions was a darkness no one could see. Because this wasn't a love story. It was a ticking time bomb, one that would end in the murder that fooled an entire nation. Intro Caroline Crouch was just 15 when she first met the man who would change her life forever. He was a pilot, 27 years old, confident and wealthy. When he flew his helicopter over her school, it wasn't just a grand gesture. It was the beginning of a dangerous obsession. To a teenage girl, it felt like something out of a movie. The adventure, the attention, the thrill of being chosen by an older man who seemed to live above the clouds. But love can be deceptive. Sometimes it isn't light that draws you in. It's the shadow. In 2017, during a Good Friday parade, their paths crossed. His name was Babis Anagnostopoulos, respected, admired, and trusted. And to the young girl from Anagnostopoulos, he seemed like everything she'd ever dreamed of. What started as a teenage fantasy soon became a whirlwind romance. 3 years later, they eloped. Against her parents' wishes, Caroline married the man who had promised her the world. But what she couldn't see then was that she had just stepped into a cage disguised as love. Caroline was born in 2001, the only daughter of David Crouch, a retired engineer, and Susan Della Costa. She grew up surrounded by the ocean, sunshine, and freedom. She loved scuba diving, swimming, and exploring the coast of her island home. She was fearless, independent, and full of life. The kind of girl who couldn't be easily tamed. But once she married Babis, everything began to change. He was 12 years older, and though he showered her with affection, he also began to control every part of her life. Where she went, who she spoke to, what she posted. Everything was monitored. When Caroline's parents gifted her 50,000 euros to buy land for their dream house, she thought it was the start of a beautiful future. Together, they planned to build a home for their growing family. Their daughter was only 11 months old, a bundle of joy they both adored. At least, that's what the world saw. Then came the night of May 11th, 2021. At 4:30 a.m., a chilling emergency call was made to the Greek police. A man's voice, muffled and desperate, pleaded for help. He said robbers had broken into his house. When police arrived, what they found was the stuff of nightmares. The home was ransacked, drawers overturned, furniture scattered. A security camera was torn from the wall. Their puppy had been strangled with its own leash. Upstairs, in the bedroom, lay 19-year-old Caroline, face down, lifeless. Her infant daughter sat beside her, crying, trying to wake her mother. And beside the bed, bound in duct tape, lay her husband, Babis. He told police that masked intruders had broken in, tied him up, and killed his wife when she tried to resist. It sounded like a tragic home invasion, a story that sent shockwaves through Greece. The media erupted with headlines about brutal robbers terrorizing families. But beneath the horror, something didn't add up. Police noticed there were no fingerprints, no signs of forced entry, and no trace of the intruders. Even stranger, the memory card from the security camera had been removed hours before the supposed break-in. For weeks, Babis appeared before cameras, mourning his wife. He held their baby at her funeral, crying for justice. The country saw him as a broken man, a symbol of tragedy. But detectives began to see something else. Cracks in his story. Investigation and unraveling. The night of Caroline Crouch's murder had seemed like a calculated nightmare. Babis Sinopoulos had painted a picture of 3 masked intruders, speaking Greek and Albanian, storming the house with guns. But the details didn't add up. The window he claimed they entered through was far too small for a person to fit. Neighbors heard no struggle, only the faint cries of the family puppy hours before. Then came the silent witness, Caroline's smartwatch. At 3:58 a.m., her heart rate was calm, asleep. By 4:05 a.m., it spiked, Panic, fear, a fight for life. At 4:11 a.m., her heart stopped. This was long before the intruders were supposedly inside. Baby's own fitness tracker betrayed him, showing movement around the house while he claimed to be tied up and unconscious. Piece by piece, the story collapsed. The perfect robbery, the staged home invasion, the innocent husband. It was all a facade. When confronted with the evidence, Babis finally cracked. After 8 hours of questioning, he confessed, not to being a victim, but the murderer. He described the argument that night. Caroline wanted to leave, to take their baby and escape the life he controlled. He said he lost his temper, but what followed was deliberate. He pinned her down, pressed a pillow over her face, and held it there until she stopped moving. Then came the chilling cover-up. He staged the crime scene with methodical cruelty, strangling their puppy, scattering the house, tying himself up, and even calling the police with his nose to play the part of a survivor. For 37 days, he fooled everyone. Police, media, Caroline's grieving family, all believed in the narrative of a violent robbery. He attended her funeral, gave interviews, mourned publicly, and presented himself as the widower seeking justice. But the truth was far darker. The man everyone trusted to protect his family had orchestrated the ultimate betrayal. The life of Caroline Crouch, a young mother full of hope and dreams, was stolen by the very person she loved. The fairy tale had ended not in heartbreak alone, but in premeditated murder, leaving behind only grief, shock, and a chilling lesson. Sometimes, the monster in your life isn't a stranger. It's the one you hold closest. Aftermath and revelation. When Babis Sinopoulos' confession became public, the world recoiled in disbelief. The man who had been celebrated as a devoted husband, the charming pilot who had captured the heart of a teenage girl, was revealed to be a cold-blooded killer. The perfect love story that had fascinated Greece, that had captivated social media, was nothing more than a web of lies, manipulation, and control. In his confession, Babis claimed he deserved to be punished. Yet even then, he tried to shift the blame. He spoke of losing control, of Caroline making him angry, of the argument that supposedly drove him to violence. But no words could justify the horror he had unleashed. He hadn't just ended a marriage. He had taken the life of a young mother, a daughter, a dreamer. Caroline Crouch, whose heart had believed in love until the very end, was gone. Her life extinguished in the home she had built with hope and trust. The tragedy extended far beyond her death. Their infant daughter, just months old, would grow up never hearing her mother's laughter, never feeling the warmth of her embrace, never knowing the love that had once filled their home. Instead, she would inherit silence, grief, and the unimaginable void left by a mother who was stolen from her forever. For 37 days, Babis had fooled the world, attending funerals, giving interviews, playing the role of the grieving widower. Behind the facade of sorrow, he had orchestrated a chilling deception. The staged robbery, the killed puppy, the scattered house, the self-imposed restraints. All of it designed to hide the truth, to mislead investigators, and to manipulate everyone around him. Justice finally arrived. In May 2022, Babis Anagnostopoulos was sentenced for the premeditated murder of his wife, along with obstruction of justice, lying to authorities, and animal cruelty. The man who once soared above the skies would now spend years behind cold prison walls, trapped by his own deeds. Caroline's life, though tragically cut short, stands as a haunting reminder. Appearances can deceive, love can be weaponized, and sometimes the person you trust most is the greatest danger. Her memory endures, a testament to innocence, hope, and life's fragile beauty. Outro Caroline's story is more than just another tragic headline. It's a reminder that love, when poisoned by control and obsession, can turn deadly. Behind the filtered photos and perfect smiles, there can be pain no one sees. She was just 19, full of life, full of dreams, and full of trust for the man who swore to protect her. And yet, it was that very man who took everything away. the murder that fooled the world wasn't just a crime. It was a story of illusion, of how easy it is to hide the truth behind a beautiful lie. Because sometimes, the most dangerous place a woman can be is inside the home she thought was safe.